What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. So it is time for me to react to your Bad Blood 2024 hot takes. And if you want to be a part of the next video, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and pay attention to the community tab after Raw, SmackDown, and any PLE. And I'll make a post saying what are your hot takes, and I'll try to react to as many as I can. Without further ado, let's get into the hot takes. So I loved Liv and Rhea's match, but Dominic falling out of the cage almost gave me a heart attack because if that chain didn't hold him up, he could have really gotten injured. And also, Raquel Rodriguez return had no pop or cheer. I really felt bad for her. Yeah, as far as Raquel Rodriguez, yeah, I felt bad for her. I mean, a lot of people aren't big on her like that, so I wasn't expecting this crazy pop from the crowd. But yeah, I did feel bad for her because I really do like her. But unfortunately, that's just how things work in the wrestling business. Also, the whole miscommunication at the end of the match really didn't help her return. So hopefully they can book her in some way where we can not really forget about that, but to the point where that part don't matter as much as it does now, just because it just happened. Now, in regards to Dominic almost falling out the cage, if you saw my reaction, I was shocked. I thought he was going to hit the ground, but I think that explains why that shark cage wasn't raised at the top like they did with Enzo or More years ago, as opposed to having him, Dominic Mysterio raised a little bit. He was high, but he wasn't really high like Enzo was over the ramp, because I think they knew they had to do that spot and to protect him in case that chain doesn't hold up. I'm believing that that's the reason why they had the cage located where it was. Hell in a Cell should have been the main event. This is just another example of The Rock throwing his weight around. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, the Hell in a Cell match should have been the main event, but because The Rock did return, I understand why WWE did what exactly they did. Now, here's the thing. Although it wasn't the main event of the show, that Hell in a Cell match was still the best match of the night, given what happened in there, and that doesn't take away from what both men did in that ring. Fantastic match. But again, The Rock took another main event spot from CM Punk one way or another. And WWE has this weird thing with The Rock where they gotta have him at the end of the show where he doesn't really say much, so people can be like, oh my god, what happened at the end of the show? What does these symbols mean? Which is a lot of fun. And what is he gonna say at SmackDown? So I get why they did it. And with The Rock, yes, it's him throwing his weight around. He's a heel. He's working the crowd. You're not supposed to like him. So he's playing more into that final boss character. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do next. New title for Crown Jewel. It's unnecessary. It looks Rare L for Triple H should have been the mid-card women's title. Yes, I agree. I thought that we were going to get the women's mid-card title I've been begging for the past 5+ years, especially since we got one for NXT. I'm like, why not get one for the main roster at this point? And when I look closer to the podium, I should have known. I should have known. The Crown Jewel logo told me that we were not getting a women's mid-card title. Instead, we got what we got. This monstrosity of a title as the size of JD McDonough's head, the new Crown Jewel Championship. Now, I wouldn't say this is an L on Triple H, because we have to understand he still works for a business. He still has to appease Endeavor and TKO on the financial side, and he also has to appease Saudi Arabia on the business side in order for them to keep backing up these Brinks trucks and these gold-plated, diamond-studded blank checks for WWE. And in order to do so, you got to give them what they want. And I'm sure this title is one of the things that they wanted. Although we didn't want it, I'm sure they wanted it. Now, as far as the title itself, I just don't understand it. I know most people's reply to people who don't like the title online is that you're crying or you're complaining or why are you hating? And it's not the case, man. That title, whether it exists or not, has no implications on me personally or in my personal life at all. But I just don't understand why it's there outside of the business move. Because think about this. If you're one of the people in attendance at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, why should you care about this title? Because what if WWE came to your city and told you this? We created a whole new title for your city in a match between champion versus champion, which is great to see the both of them. And I get seeing them live is a big deal. But the championship itself, we're going to create it for your city. But no matter who wins it, it's not in canon. It has no implications on anything happening on weekly television. So at that point, why should you care? There's no stakes. No one really loses anything if they lose this match. Now, the only way they can make this play into a weekly television thing, or maybe not even weekly, if Goldberg does not cost Gunther his title tomorrow, which I don't think he will probably cost him that whole title at Saudi Arabia, and then they'll spin into their match at Survivor Series. So I'm assuming that that's going to be the case. But outside of that, I don't get the point of this title existing. And I'm sure the champion's not going to carry it everywhere. Is this champion going to defend it at multiple pay-per-views? If that's going to be the case, then that'll be kind of cool. But for right now, with the limited information they gave us at Bad Blood, we don't know why this title is here or why we should care about it at this point. But anyway, thank you for the question. Priest and Balor was kind of mid. It felt like a Raw match. I want the feud to end already. I get where you're coming from. And I feel a little bit of fatigue from the whole Judgment Day situation, more specifically from Rhea versus Liv. Can we please put a pause on this feud and come back to this later on around WrestleMania season? Please, because we don't need nothing else out of this whole situation. Let's move on. Now, in regards to Finn Balor and Damian Priest, I agree. I felt like that this match should have been on Raw before we even got to Bad Blood, because we didn't even really have any good build up to make this match make sense and for it to even be on a PLE. All we got was a couple of promos leading up to this, and that's it. They could have had a couple of matches before leading up to this match, and then this could have been their rubber match, and that would have justified it being on this PLE. But since it wasn't, it would have made more sense for Gunther versus Sami Zayn to be on here, or it made more sense for the 6-man ladder match for the tag team championships to happen on SmackDown to be on the show. But at the same time, I am happy for the crowd that was in attendance that they got to watch that tag team title match, and for the crowd tomorrow night that get to see that match between Gunther and Sami Zayn. That's great for them too as well. But again, I could have done without Damian and Finn on this card, but it happens, so what can you do? Kevin Owens' heel turn gives us a peek at the evolution of social media in pro wrestling. Yes, I agree. I love the fact that happened on social media. Now, in my original reaction, I did question why this didn't happen on SmackDown, but I kind of am starting to understand why this is important, because given the fact that PLE prices for those tickets are super high nowadays, even compared to last year. It cost me probably $60 to go to Survivor Series. This year, when I'm looking at PLEs to sit in the nosebleed section, they're like $150, $170 and up just to sit at the top. So it feels like WWE kind of understand that these prices are really high, and they want to reward the fans to give them a better experience for using their hard-earned money for going to these PLEs. So for stuff like this happening, I think is great. I think they should do more of this. As long as the fans understand that this whole thing is scripted and people don't try to get involved or jump down there and try to fight Kevin Owens or something like that, I'm all cool with this. So hopefully the fans don't ruin it, but I agree with you. I think this is a great moment in the evolution of social media with pro wrestling. Only two of the matches had the right winners, Punk and Liv. Tiffany should have cashed in and won. Finn should have won, and Solo and Jacob should have won. So I'm gonna start off with what I agree with you on. Solo and Jacob should have won that match because it just didn't make any sense. Roman gains nothing from pinning Solo Sikoa. Cody gets nothing from pinning Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu getting pinned will be the worst thing for him. So the only possible situation that would have made sense in that is to have Solo pin Roman to get a comeuppance and make him look better as a tribal chief. Now again, I have a video coming out to try to make all this make sense, but given what happened in reality, I didn't agree with that ending, but hopefully they'll figure out a way to make this make sense. Now, as far as Finn winning, I don't think that's the good route to go if they're going to do multiple matches between him and Damian Priest. So you have to have the heel, the one trying to seek for revenge, to go after Damian Priest. And I think ultimately Finn Balor is going to win the rubber match between the two of them and possibly bring back the Demon Finn Balor. And Tiffany, I don't think she was going to cash in that night anyway. I think they're going to stretch this out to at least Survivor Series. And I think that's where she's actually going to cash in as opposed to Bad Blood. And then maybe their feud to keep going all the way until Royal Rumble. But yeah, I felt like it was a little too early, but we'll see what exactly is going to happen. It's not a Bad Blood hot take, more like a wrestling in general hot take. I feel like the word buried is an overused term, even though the wrestlers in question that lost aren't buried. Like Drew, someone said that he got buried, which he didn't. He just lost. That's it. Taking a pinfall doesn't ruin him at all. He's a huge star and nothing will change that. Yeah, if you want to, I don't understand that at all. I don't agree that he got buried at all. If you want to talk about someone who is close to or got buried, that would be Solo Sikoa getting pinned multiple times as the tribal chief. That's a whole different conversation though. But no, Drew McIntyre did get buried. He did win one match out of his 3 matches with CM Punk, and he gave up a good fight. It wasn't like he got squashed or anything like that, so I don't understand how he would get buried. Now, I know him losing this is going to play into the storyline. They're going to flip it as far as the change and evolution in his character, and it's going to justify this whole thing happening. So yeah, I don't understand why anyone would say that he's buried at this point in time. Man, throw the whole new bloodline out at this point. There's no need to have a War Games match because they aren't a threat and their tribal chief is arguably the worst member. This man has been pinned all 3 of his last matches. Yeah, I agree. He's got pinned 3 times and they've all been clean. So that's not good for him. So I don't know what they can do for him at this point. I thought his saving grace was to potentially pin Roman Reigns at Bad Blood, but now it's gotten worse. Now, I don't think they need to throw the whole bloodline out. I mean, at least Jacob Fatu is the threatening one out of the entire bunch. But I have a storyline in mind that I'll talk about in another video. I don't want to ruin it, that'll explain your whole concern about this situation. So I'll have it drop tomorrow, probably tonight or probably Tuesday morning. And I would love to see what you think about that whole situation when we get there. But thank you for your comment. So that pretty much wraps up my reactions to your hot takes. If I didn't get to yours, I apologize. I tried to do as many as I could in the time allotted. But thank you all for your submission. Again, if you want to be a part of the next one, hit the subscribe button. Pay attention to the community tab after each PLE and after Raw and SmackDown. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Salute. Peace. Have a good day.